thick in the content that's kind of our transition year, the greatest salesman in the world. We are on chapters 10 and 11, the scrolls marked 3 and 4. And as always, this is your guys' room. I'm here to facilitate, add color commentary, yet you guys drive the conversation. So what have you got from from scrolls 3 and 4 out of the content? Let me see whose mics are hot. And let's start, Mr. Mark Harrison. We haven't heard from you in a while. Are you ready to roll, brother?
Well, I think so. I have a quick question about next week. Is there a workbook with the Ninja Selling, or just the book?
Just the book. I will be doing workshops on the content. And so that'll be workshop driven, not a particular workbook to work. Appreciate the question.
All right. Now, scroll 3, I've been challenged recently. 24 was a pretty rough year. I've been challenged recently on the idea of persistence in the sense of, when do you know when to change course and something that's maybe not working? How long do you stay with something before you say, hey, this is not the right direction, Well,
here's the fun part for me on that question. Back at you, Mark. Are there other people in the same space hitting it out of the park?
That's a great question. I don't know.
The reason I'm asking you that is because I absolutely know in your space, I've got a coaching client out of Nashville, Tennessee, in the lending space.
Yeah,
who's killing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the question. I mean, what are they doing that I'm not doing, or vice versa? Therein lies the question. I mean, if you have an idea and it's not really taking hold or gaining momentum, with the idea around scroll number 3 is I will persist until I succeed. That's where I'm a little bit. I'm just bringing it up as a topic of conversation. That's all.
But no, and I love that, because so many people, I will persist until I succeed, they don't embrace. And so I would just go to the story of the diamond miner who runs 99 feet of mine, finding nothing, and gives up. And then someone comes in with an engineer, a different approach,
right?
Looks at what's really going on with a different way, takes a different approach, and one more foot, and they establish a massive success, massive wealth. By the way, this is right out of previous content that we read. Yeah. So this piece of persist until I succeed, I would take it from the position of real estate. And I'm glad we're looking at this today with either real estate or lending, Mark, because if other people are still succeeding at a high level in that space, that means you can follow the model. You can do the same thing. You can persist on your learning until you succeed. You can persist on asking for help until you succeed. Going back to scroll 1, tying into the wisdom of those that have gone before, and really leaning and getting in guidance. And then when you're trying the new stuff, odds are it's not going to succeed initially. Odds are it might even be painful. It might even be scary because it's new. Mm-hmm. Yet based on this scroll, you're going to persist until you succeed and have that breakthrough.
Okay. Sounds good. Appreciate that.
All I've done the last 4 years, Mark, is time on task over time when it comes to building this room. Think about this. It's actually been a little over 3 years. 3 years ago, it was like me and one other person. It's all that was showing up here. And at this moment, I'm staring at 25 in the room as we're getting the year kicked into gear. And I know when we kick into the next content, we'll be 50 plus.
Okay.
I persisted until I succeed. What else you guys have? Carrie, you're up.
Oops. So, I mean, I was basically going to say exactly what Mark said. I love the fact that they kept saying, I will persist until I succeed. So, and also I'm not a quitter. Sometimes I feel like maybe that's a bad thing. I never know when to quit. I just keep going. And so that was to Mark, was what Mark was saying, how do you know when, like, I'm not interested in quitting, but how do you know when to make the decision that it wasn't correct in the first place?
Well, let's
So
go
it's the same
into
thing.
let's go into what was in the very opening of this book, a quote out of it that's right at the beginning of this about who you are and how you were created. I was not delivered unto this world in defeat. Think about that. Your mom didn't suffer defeat. She didn't quit, and here you are. Nor does failure course in my veins. I am not a sheep waiting to be prodded by my shepherd. I am a lion, and I refuse to talk, to walk, to sleep with the sheep. I will hear not those who weep and complain, for their disease is contagious. Let them join the sheep. The slaughterhouse of failure is not my destiny. I will persist until I succeed. Every one of you was created to be successful, and you used to dream of it as a little one. Early on, nothing was outside your possibility in your mind. And we've just bought into the ongoing story, which has led us to accept failure when we shouldn't. Client, the floor is yours.
I was actually just about to ask the question, how do you make persistence a mindset? The quote that you just read, though, tells me that if my belief structure tells me that I am already at that point, we were not born this way, we developed this way, then what that tells me is my mindset just needs to understand that my current situation is not my reality. I know that may sound sideways to some people, but that's just the way my mind's working on it.
Well, I love the way that you embrace the fact that this is how you're designed. Client, your wife has had children, right?
Yes, sir. I have not, thank God, but she has.
When the babies were hungry, how often did they give up?
They don't give up until you're either going to feed them or you will not sleep.
You will be miserable. They will make you laugh. Hell, think about, toddler, 3-year-old, when they want something. There is a persistence inbred. It's in your DNA. Again, we just bought into the stories that we were raised on. We bought into the negativity. We bought into the it can't be done. And yet those that lean into their childlike wonderment and persistence, magic happens, brother. And I appreciate you bringing in. You already are there. Josh, the floor is yours.
I mean, he used a very specific word, right? He used the word persist. He didn't use I'll try again. I mean, it's overcome adversity, overcome obstacles. Do we really know how to persist? Or do we throw in the towel a little earlier, short of persistence? Kind of like that 99 versus 100 feet. I mean, by definition, you're going to have obstacles, difficulties. It's not going to be easy. But he would have used a different word if he didn't want us to continue pushing.
Yeah, I remember actually obstacle being in the content as well, and the joy of those obstacles in an earlier scroll, because they help strengthen that muscle that already exists, guys. That's the key for me. I want to keep hammering today on this scroll. You already have this. Don't buy into the story you don't. It's just a muscle you haven't been using maybe up until now. So think about it as it applies to conversations. We have a morning group that meets an hour before this to speak into accountability their commitment for how many conversations they're going to have towards building an organization. They persist all day until they get that number done. It's not how many dials I'm going to make. It's how many actual conversations I'm going to have. Imagine for a moment you apply that same thing to your lead generation for your production, whether it's real estate or lending or title, whatever you're in, and you committed every day, like we used to in the old days, to a minimum of 20 conversations a day. And no matter what, you didn't let go of that. You get to 5, 6 o'clock at night and you're still at 12. And so you go out in the public domain talking to people about real estate. Heck, it gets midnight and you're still too short, and you go to the grocery store that's 24 hours and talk to the people stocking the shelves. If you set a daily goal and then made sure you hit it, wouldn't that then build that persistence muscle? So I recommend, if it's not my accountability group, you get another one that helps you make that happen. Jeanette, you were there. I'm holding you to second because Shara was in first. What do you got, Shara?
The basis is to read each scroll for 30 days, right? That's the foundation, each scroll for 30 days. In this scroll, what I found persist is to remind ourselves, or to build that muscle, as you're saying. And you took that right out of my mouth. I was not delivered into this world in defeat, but with each little section of I will persist until I succeed, there's a reminder the prizes of life are at the end of the journey, not the beginning. Though I go 1,000 steps and success hides right around the bend, the raindrop washes away the mountain, an ant devours a tiger. So these are tiny little pivots or tiny little steps or a huge confidence. I'll remember the ancient law of averages and will bend it to my good. So throughout this chapter, it's a reminder. And when you spend 30 days reviewing this and telling yourself these same stories, each obstacle I will consider a mere detour, nor will I allow yesterday's success to lull me into complacency, for this is the great foundation of failure. So with every little repeat of I'll persist until I succeed, I see so many aspects of how we train our minds, how we build that muscle. And then the biggest thing that I've seen is that we, at least in the Austin area, have gotten a lot more complacent because it's been so good for so long that the last couple of years have been incredibly painful. And pivot is a question. What do I do? The city's becoming younger, the demographics changing. And so this for me was a profound chapter in reminding me that everything, like you said, everything's in us, but assess on a day-to-day basis and take those little micro goals and victories.
Well, in the real estate space, I will promise you that it's not just Austin.
No.
I have been saying for the last 18 plus months that any of you that got your license from 2013 up to this point have never actually been a real estate salesperson. You have been an order taker. It was that easy. The business showed up. Now we actually have to do the work of real estate. For those of you that just recently got licensed, hypothetically, let's say March of last year, you haven't had it easy. So you've actually learned to go out and have the conversations and be persistent and stay on it. And even this morning, it came up with one of those folks that fall in that space. Hey, I've been following up with this person, and they called me and said, I'm ready to list my house. Come get that taken care of. And I'm buying in another state. Let's make that happen as well. The persistence of the conversation makes it happen. Jeanette, you're up, and I'm optimistic that you are nature's greatest miracle.
Thank you. I love being in a room full of miracles. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to hear what happens with each. The greatest in this, I will persist until I succeed, doesn't say I'm going to do some of these same things over and over and over again, knocking my head against the wall without learning something about it. And so we have a whole range of questions in here. It's like, is this the right thing? It's like I heard Mark saying, well, I'm doing this. I know Mark does it. I mean, after 30 some years, Mark knows what he's doing about talking with people. Is this the right avenue to place? And at the other end, we've got, it's still a question about, do I even consider continuing as a salesperson? As like, do I continue in this career or not? Well, it doesn't matter where we go. This information is this is about our lives. And so what you're a salesperson to your kids, you're a salesperson to your friends, because you're caring, you're looking, you're in victory, you're growing, whatever. So it's an amazing place to be with it. And so we succeed. We succeed until we persist, and we persist until we succeed. It's amazing. And we are the greatest miracles. We are there's no one like each of us. And that takes a bit when you're in a world where everybody else seems to be doing the same. You think, well, why do they need me here? What's my place? I could have thought that when I started, because when I started was in 2000, or when I went full time was in 2001, 2002, and it was the one of the biggest downturns that had happened since the lending debacle. But I knew I was supposed to be there. I just did it.
It was one of the greatest downturns since the previous downturn.
Downturn, exactly.
Right? It's this market's always going to be do that. And that's why we take 100% responsibility for everything. We never blame the market. We never blame the buyers or sellers. We're never pointing the finger outward. We are 100% responsible. That is also part of the persistence. The moment you take 100% responsibility, yeah, it hurts. And yet now you also have 100% of the power, 100% of the control. And now you can lean into that with this persistence. And I still want to make the shift to make sure we cover both chapters, because I am nature's greatest miracle is key. Think about the math. And I'm going to get a little maybe graphic for some of you, but mom and dad had a wonderful moment together, and you are a 1 in 100 million possibility. There are on average 100 million sperm that are delivered, and one got through, you. Back to the content on this though. I am nature's greatest miracle. Since the beginning of time, never has there been another with my mind, my heart, my eyes, my ears, my hands, my hair, my mouth. None that came before, none that live today, and none that come tomorrow can walk and talk and move and think exactly like me. All men are my brothers, yet I am different from each. I am a unique creature. I am nature's greatest miracle. That's every single one of you. And so one of the things I want to make sure you do is lean into that uniqueness. Run with that. I always hear you guys asking, especially me as a coach, tell me what to do, tell me what to say. I will give you structures and outlines, yet you're not going to be me. So I want to help you be the best version of you, because you are nature's greatest miracle. What else do you guys have from the content?
So in regards to the uniqueness of who we are, I think that what you said, Coach, is really interesting, and it's wise, because so often we compare ourselves to others. And when things are not working perfectly, that comparison can be detrimental. We're each running our own race, and we each have finish lines that are at different points. Russ's finish line is not my finish line. My finish line is not Russ's. And so be really careful, guys, about letting the success of others using that as your point of reference. It'll help, but don't say, if I'm not doing this the exact same way, I'm not being successful. So I think, that's just something that I just came up with, and I think it makes some sense.
Yeah, I'm also seeing it, Klein, as don't compare the end results. So if someone else is doing better, study what they're doing. And I always say copy the model first, then plus it. Okay. You, though, have got to understand the value of you. So I want to go back into the content before I go to Doug and then Nafritha. I am a unique creature of nature. I am rare, and there is value in all rarity. Therefore, I am valuable. I am the end product of thousands of years of evolution. Therefore, I am better equipped in both mind and body than all the emperors and wise men who preceded me. Every one of you fall in that category. Doug, what do you got, brother?
I was thinking about this weekend, that the world, the way that the systems are set up, are basically designed to press us to look like each other, think like each other, and do exactly what we're told to do when we're told to do it. And it's not. It's just a press towards mediocrity. So if that's the programming that is all around us, to press us towards being like each other and to settle and just to accept what you end up with, that's not who we really are. And I love that this brings it out, how powerfully, and does it so powerfully, that you're unique, you're one of a kind. There'll never be another one. You have a specific and unique way about you, and a specific and unique calling in your life. So I think this is really such an exceptional chapter in this, or scroll in this series, to really underline the greatness of each individual person. And there's plenty of room for every one of us. So that's what I got.
Think about this, Doug, in the perspective of all your education. Your teachers, elementary, junior high, and high school, did they teach to the smartest person in the room? Did they teach content for the absolute bottom one of the room? No, they're in the middle. They're driving towards average. You and all your friends, if somebody in school was performing at an extremely high level, you had all kinds of labels for them: brown noser, teacher's pet. And of course, the other end, loser, druggie, whatever, all driving our energies toward being average. And what this content's telling you and what Coach is telling you is every single one of you are exceptional beyond your imagination. Borrow my belief if you have to. Let's have some direct conversations to help you think about you like I do. And let's watch the magic happen in 2025. Nafritha.
So I am a little bit behind on the reading, so I'll be honest about that. However, listening to you guys kind of just brought up some thoughts for me. And I love the idea of I am nature's greatest miracle. I love that. I think that goes to what you were just saying, like highlighting the uniqueness that we all have to bring to the earth. Like, could you imagine if there was only one shade in the world, if everything was just black and white, if there was no color, if there was no different scents to smell or things to explore, that would be quite boring, right? And I think that speaks into the power of our creator, but also the power that he gives us to be creative. And I love that, you are not average. So I wrote that down to kind of remind myself, right? I am not average. You are not average. And what does that mean? So yesterday I was listening to a sermon, and the sermon was disaster wanted to kill me, but destiny wouldn't let me die. Right? You are not average. And so I thought that was so profound. Like listening to it was like, wow, okay. And what does disaster look like? It could look different in all of our lives. Like we talked about doing the same thing and it's probably not working out, or trying something and we're not getting the outcome that we want. But does that mean it's not right? Maybe you're not doing it long enough. Or sometimes we talk, right? Maybe it's the thing that you're doing. I always mess it up, coach. You're either doing the wrong thing, you're either doing it the wrong way, or I forgot the three things that I wrote it down, but I need to kind of learn it. But it's how do we tweak that? Right. But then if we know that disaster wanted to kill us, that means that this change wanted to wipe us out, right? Us not knowing how to maneuver this new land wanted to destroy us. Also in the sermon, she talked about trials and tribulations and the difference. Sometimes we have these short challenges that last a day, that last a moment. And then we have tribulations that last longer. So maybe the tribulation is you finding the grit to maneuver this new land. I don't know what that looks like, but we are chosen, right? Because we are not average. So we are going to be tried. We are going to be tested, and it's going to look differently. But it's up to us, right, to build the muscle of persistence and to not quit. And I remember being in the Army, it was complacency kills. Like they drove that into us every day. Like complacency kills. So how do I make sure that I don't kill my own self and the people around me? Because in the military, you're not just worrying about yourself. If you make the wrong move, if you don't pay attention, if you miss something, that could be your whole platoon or your whole company being wiped out. Those are lives, right? So we can't be complacent and thinking that, well, I was doing this for 10 years and it worked, and now it's just not working, so this sucks. It's like, no, you became complacent somewhere. You just didn't even notice because it was comfortable, right? Because we know we all go to what's comfortable. But I love in the chapter that I did read, like in the beginning.
Hold that thought, because we are at 11:30, and one of my commitments to all of you guys is to be punctual with our time and respect your time. So let's bookend this though with what Mark brought in and what Nafritha brought in. She attempted to bring in my simplicity. If you're not getting the outcome you desire, so if it's not working right now, there's only three possibilities in my world. You're either doing the wrong things, or you're doing the things wrong, or you're not doing the things. And 9 times out of 10, it's number 3. All of you are paid in direct proportion to the number of conversations you have. And I could almost guarantee up until 2025, you have not been having enough conversations every single day to get you to the goals you desire.